Welcome to the presentation on Effectively Integrate Virtual Laboratories in Your Regular Teaching by Anita Divakar, RS IDP Educational Technology IIT Bombay under the guidance of Professor Santosh Narona, IIT Bombay. We bring to you a series of presentations to help you in effectively integrate virtual laboratories in your regular teaching. This series will consist of 8 presentations. The overview of virtual laboratories in India, virtual laboratory as a technology in TEL, the Lotus framework, the advice tool, how do you select learning objectives, how do you select tasks constructively aligned to the learning objectives, how do you select assessment mechanisms constructively aligned to the learning objectives, and the last one, how do you select the virtual laboratories to fulfill the selected learning objectives. In this presentation, we will be covering the virtual laboratory as the technology in TEL. So what do you mean by TEL? So technology enhanced learning or technology enabled learning or technology enhanced education, they do not have a precise definition. So for our purpose, we are using the definition of TEL as learning with technology, that is with cognitive tools. Virtual laboratory is also a technology which is used for laboratory learning. Technology enhanced learning aims to design, develop and test socio-technical innovations that will support and enhance learning practices of both individuals and organizations. It is therefore an application domain that generally covers technologies that support all forms of teaching and learning. And in our context, virtual laboratory as a TEL is helping in the laboratory learning. Now the TEL are compared using these 4 metrics, that is attractiveness, accessibility, efficiency and effectiveness. Now when we say attractiveness, basically means that in order to learn something, students find that learning with technology is more attractive, they are more motivated. Accessibility is basically that the technology makes the learning more accessible to the learner. Efficiency is increasing the efficiency of learning, and effectiveness is like using the technology for making the learning more effective. So we'll be seeing all these 4 parameters in the later section. Now when we say virtual laboratory as a technology for learning, the laboratories are classified into 3 types, that is the development, research and instructional. The development lab is a place where the engineers design, develop and test a new product. The research lab is used to obtain broader knowledge about the world. So these labs have been existing since many years. The third type of lab, that is the instructional or educational lab, where the science and engineering students perform experiments to learn. This again has been used in science and engineering since ages, and virtual laboratory is a very recent technology. So these virtual laboratories are classified into the physical laboratories, the virtual laboratory or online laboratory with simulations, we call it as VLab 1, and the virtual laboratory with remote triggered hardware as virtual lab 2 or VLab 2. Now when we compare these 3 labs, that is P-Lab, virtual lab 1 and virtual lab 2, based on the metric of efficiency, these are the parameters that we considered. That is cost of equipment, maintenance cost, infrastructure, demand on space, demand on time, safety measures and the instructor time. So if you see this table, you can see that the virtual lab 1 is having the lowest of all the scores, and virtual lab 2 also having a low or medium score in most of the metrics. So that is why people are using virtual laboratories to increase the efficiency. The second metric, that is accessibility, these are the parameters, that is scaling, language, learning style, scope of population, availability. Again, on all these parameters, if you see, compare the table, The virtual lab is simulation, scores the best, after which the virtual lab 2 and then the physical labs. So these two types of labs are basically improving the accessibility to the learner. Then the third metric, that is attractiveness, is based on the two parameters, that is student motivation and student perception. Again, the two labs, virtual labs with simulation and hardware, students find it more attractive because they are more motivated to learn, because they have a high responsibility of learning, and then students are more enthusiastic due to the interface and the interactive nature of the virtual laboratories. The fourth metric of effectiveness, here we are going to see this in greater details because that is the main aim of the list of presentations. Now, when we say effectiveness, we define it in two ways. Now, basically the teacher's views of science and engineering lead to the teacher's objectives, that is what the students are intended to learn. Similarly, the design features of the task, which again are decided by the teacher's views, they decide what the students are intended to do. So the teacher's views of science and teachers and engineering and teacher's views of learning lead to the teacher's objectives and the design feature of the task. Similarly, what the students actually do and what students actually learn depend on the students' views of science and engineering and students' views of learning. And also the third component, that is a practical and institutional context. Now, how do we match this? So when we say effectiveness 1, means the tasks are designed such that the students actually do what they are intended to do, that is the teachers and students views, they match. Similarly, when we say effectiveness 2, what students actually learn and what they are intended to learn according to the teachers is again matching. So through this presentations, what we are going to achieve is map the complete alignment between what students actually learn and what students should learn or intended to learn, again based on theory, educational technology theories, and then what students actually do in the lab and what students are intended to do in the lab, matching these two. So that's all in this presentation. In the next presentation, we will be covering the Lotus framework.